It's actually a
Yes.
great choice. Not correct, but that's a great choice.
Anything else?
Bread.
Bread.
Leavened bread.
Leavened
Actually, that
bread.
would be another good choice, dude.
Good.
That wasn't it either.
Good guess.
I tell you what, we're going to tell you the answer, and it's a little surprising, actually. It was eggs.
Banned for Holy Week in the 13th century.
Okay, Jess, you go.
Okay. So Rod is a big candy guy.
Yes, I am.
I mean, we did this even at Oktoberfest. Your
Yeah,
table
that's
was
right.
covered in
That's-
candy.
that's right.
So I'm not giving away any secrets. But Rod loves jelly beans. So we've been talking about it. How many jelly beans are consumed in America during the Easter season? I
So
say
just during
season
Easter.
because
Okay.
as soon as the jelly beans hit the shelves, people are buying them and eating them, right? So how many jelly beans are consumed the Easter season in America alone each year?
Anybody just yell out a number. 500
Whoa.
million. 500 million. That's okay. Anybody else?
Are you saying million? 500 mil.
Oh,
Oh, the
500
B.
500 billion. Okay.
Jessica's 500 billion.
Okay, anybody else? Have another number.
Anybody love those jelly beans yourselves?
Oh, come on. Help us out here. 389 million. Okay. Why don't you give out the
Thank
answer?
you for participating. 16 billion jelly beans consumed each Easter season in America.
So here's a new learning I had. I'm going to piggyback off this. What do you think the favorite? Well, a recent study just came out on March 15th of this year, naming the favorite jelly bean flavor for every single state.
Oh yeah, this is.
So
a good
what do you
one.
think is the favorite flavor for Colorado?
Don't Google it. Don't Google it. Don't.
Anybody can
How
yell
do you
it.
know this, Rod?
This study that came out, being the candy kind of person, I get these kind of studies sent to me. Other people get the news. I get candy
It
alerts.
gets sent to
I
you.
get candy alerts. Anybody, favorite flavor in Colorado? Green apple, cherry, strawberry.
We have cherry guess
Oh.
over here. That's a good guess. 'cause
Somebody
they're-
said something else. Root beer. Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh,
too.
that's a good guess.
Okay, this is going to be a little tricky because I think they're basing this off the Jelly Belly that has all those odd flavors, but it was juicy pear.
That
Yeah, I
seems
know.
weird to me to
I
be
know.
Colorado.
I know, but we also share this favorite with our neighbors in Wyoming as well.
That's their favorite.
Their
also.
favorite. So you know what? We don't have a lot of time, Jess. So we got to. I think we
Okay.
should jump to
Well, to what? You
what's.
should-
Let's jump to what's taking place today because we got to.
Yes.
we need to
Okay,
talk about
so
what's going on.
today, especially if you're new, if this is your first time here, or even first time back in a year, which is wonderful, there are kids' busy bags at each of the doors. If you have kids in here with you, go ahead and get up and get a kid's busy bag. And also there's programs, so be sure we're going to be referencing these throughout. You can get up, get yourself a pen and program and all the things that we need. Ryan is launching a brand new series today, which is great, called Mistaken Identity.
Great message.
We'll experience some incredibly hopeful music.
And then what is taking place 4 months from now that we're introducing today?
Ooh, 4
Yeah.
months from now, Kids Adventure Camp returns in summer 2021, which we're super excited about. It's one of those things that we were unable to do last year in COVID. This year, it's the first week of August, and registration is now open. So go ahead and write that down.
And we just want to let everyone know, and we'll reiterate this a little bit later on in the service, but if you're a first-time guest here, we want to encourage you to make sure you take some time to fill out the card because we have, you can pick up a free gift, this baby onesie, for example, at the Hope is Here swag table out front. But I tell you what, we're running this down. We're going to jump ship right now because we'll come back a little bit later on, but it's going to be a fantastic service. Thank you for joining us. Happy Easter,
Thank you.
everybody.
Happy Easter.
In the darkness, we were waiting, without hope, without light, till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes, to fulfill the law and prophets. To a virgin came the word, from a throne of endless glory, to a cradle in the dirt. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. To reveal the kingdom come, and to reconcile the lost, to redeem the whole creation. You did not despise the cross, for even in your suffering you saw to the other side, knowing this was our salvation. Jesus, for our sake you died. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King. And the morning that you rose, all of heaven held its breath, till that storm was moved for good, for the Lamb had conquered death. And the devils from their tombs, and the angels stood in awe, for the souls of all who had come to the Father are restored. And the church of Christ was born, then the Spirit lit the flame. Now this gospel truth of all shall not dim, shall not fade. By His blood and in His name, in His freedom I am free. By the blood of Jesus Christ, who has resurrected me. Well, happy Easter, everyone. I invite you to stand. Let's sing together. Even the darkest days are temporary. You are the everlasting light. And all of the time and space could not contain. You are the everlasting light. Even the darkest days are temporary. You are the everlasting light. And all of the time and space could not contain, 'cause you are the everlasting light.
Resurrection light calls forth the dawn amidst our darkest nights and calms the waves amidst our roughest seas. Resurrection light promises awakening and restoration of all created things. Resurrection light reminds us that injustice will not have the final word. Resurrection light restores hope in the face of death, disease, and disaster. Resurrection light offers only grace in spite of our denials, fears, and failures. Resurrection light dries our tears and binds up our broken hearts. Resurrection light awakens that which has always been true of us. Resurrection light invites us to release the captives, give sight to the blind, bring good news to the poor, and announce freedom to the oppressed. Resurrection light illuminates the truth of our souls. You are forgiven. You are whole. you are mine. Today, we find hope and life in the light of Jesus, who declared, I am the resurrection and the life. All who believe in me will live, even though they die.
The end and the beginning, the new reality outside my understanding, but still within my reach. As far as I can see you, you're closer still to me. You are the everlasting light. The end and the beginning, the new reality outside my understanding, but still within my reach. As far as I can see you, you're closer still to me. You are the everlasting. You are. Let's sing. End and the beginning, new reality outside my understanding, but still within my reach. As far as I can see you, you're closer still to me. You are the everlasting light. Even the darkest days are temporary. You are the everlasting light. Yes, you are. And all of the time and space could not contain you, 'cause you are the everlasting light. Even the darkest days are temporary. You are the everlasting light. And all of the time and space could not contain you, 'cause you are the everlasting light.
Okay, I just want to welcome you to Crossroads. It's so great that you're joining us here today. If you're joining us online, thank you for watching. And today's the day where we celebrate the light that was brought to this world through Jesus, through his death and resurrection. And we want to celebrate it. We want to be happy about it, but that's not all. We want to be a part of it. We want to be a part of the light. So we're going to sing a song now that talks about calling out the light in ourselves, because that's really how the light of Jesus works in our world, is through the people, right? So I want to invite you to sing this song with me. In the days when your heart feels like it's caving in, so that a peace begins. Sure, Okay, you can go ahead and have a seat.
Welcome to Easter weekend. I'm Wendy Howell, and I want to wish you all a very happy Easter. It's hard to believe that this time last year, we were all experiencing Easter with Crossroads virtually together. Who could have known how this pandemic would shape our everyday normal lives? From virtual meetings and Zoom happy hours to being at home with kids all day, every day, and mask wearing, it has been quite the ride. Shout out to all of you amazing pandemic parents and caregivers. Over the past year, we have experienced deep loss together. We have learned how to love each other, be better neighbors, and go with the flow. We're reminded that again and again, life takes us through troubled waters. Again and again, we have doubts, we grieve losses, we stumble and fall. But in the midst of the cycle of chaos, God repeats a stabilizing truth. I created you. I love you. I choose you. Today we celebrate the resurrection light that shines again and again, and we see that light now. This Easter, we are celebrating the fact that we're able to gather together in person. We are celebrating the technology that still connects us near and far. If we've learned one thing this year, it's that our mission as Crossroads Peacemakers is as clear as ever. Let's take a look.
I got nervous, yeah. Okay.
We'll do it again. Let's do it again.
At Crossroads Church, we are passionate about inspiring, equipping, and encouraging peacemakers who work for justice and humbly serve others in their everyday, normal lives.
We are committed to the holistic health and safety of all our community members.
And we believe all people are loved and accepted by God equally and without qualification.
We love everyone by including and affirming all people regardless of race,
gender, sexuality, class,
disability, or immigration status.
We recently embarked on a 10-year peacemaking journey, committing time, talent, and financial resources to confront 5 unacceptable truths in our world.
Spiritual emptiness,
fear of others like racism, homophobia, and sexism,
illiteracy, poverty,
and human trafficking.
In all our work, we value inclusion,
and fun, generosity,
creativity, and wisdom.
We are orange dots of hope all over northern Colorado and the world.
Hope is here.
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 Well, I think if you want a picture of what Crossroads Church is about, you just saw it in those videos that we just saw. My name is Rod. I want to welcome you to Easter.
Yes, my name is Jessica. Welcome to Easter. So good to see everybody here in the room and online, literally joining us from everywhere. Easter with Crossroads 2021. So good to be together.
Absolutely. And, we want to let you know that you are welcome not only on Easter, but at any time. And I'd love to share with you how we meet regularly, whether in person here at 5420 North Taft Avenue in Loveland or online. We meet every Thursday evening at 6:30 p.m. and Sunday mornings at 9 and 11. And we hope you make plans to join us again.
Yes, and Rod, one of my favorite things has always been our kids and student programs here. And my family has been a part of it since birth. And now I have teenagers that volunteer with toddlers and school-age children, and they're part of the student ministry program. We are grateful. And we do want to say, if you are raising the next generation, we are here with you. We are for you. We want to partner with you and support you.
That's great, Jess. And if you're a guest today, or you came invited as a guest, or maybe you're somebody that just considers yourself new, well, we're glad that you chose to include us in your Easter festivities, and we want to encourage you with a gift today. And as you walked in, you may have seen we have this Hope is Here swag table where you have various different items like t-shirts, baby onesies, baby tees, a bunch of fun stuff. And as a kind of way to celebrate you being here today, if you fill out Connect card, stop by and we can give you one of these items. The other thing is, if you're online and you fall into one of those categories, please let us know and we'll make sure that we get something out to you.
Yes, great.
Yeah.
And anybody's welcome to the Hope is Here swag table. So
Absolutely.
head over there after the service. Now, I'd like to point out our special Easter Connect card. So if you're in the room, go ahead and pick out your paper Connect card, and online this is also digital. Now, one reason this is a special Easter Connect card is because if you fill out the front of this today and drop it in today, either digitally or later in the Hope is Here boxes, you will be entered into a drawing for one free kids camp registration. Kids camp, which is coming first week of August. So your Connect card enters you into that drawing. The other thing the Connect card is great for is just getting more information about our community here, how to engage in volunteering, peacemaking initiatives, many different things. So you'll see those options to check or click on your Connect card. If you're digital, do not click submit until the end of the service, because we will be referencing this later as well.
But for all of us, and even online, you can get a bit of a head start, because one of the things we're doing is recognizing Easter is maybe a time when many of you are choosing to re-engage with us as a community or coming for the first time, which is great. And we just want to update our roster so we can make sure we can get as much helpful information to you. So what we're going to do is we're building time in the service to do this right now, where our team is going to put on some super motivational, inspirational, card filling out music. And we're going to give us time to do that right now. So I'm going to actually fill out my card as well.
All right, it started. You have 30 seconds. Filled out, and even though I have filled out 4 this weekend, I promise to only submit 1, but I do like to win. So listen, one more thing, if you don't have kids like that you would donate your kids camp thing to, don't worry, we do. So we have children that we will donate that kids adventure camp in your name. So thank you for doing that. Also, I want to say your giving matters. We thank you for your generosity week after week after week. And there are several ways that we give online each time that we gather, or give together each time that we gather. One way is to give online. Another, texting. You can text to give. You can mail in your giving, and we're also on Venmo. So you can find Venmo. If you're in the room, the giving envelopes will go in the Hope is Here kiosk boxes with your Connect card at the end of the service. Thank you for your generosity. Many people are even giving above and beyond to our 2021 ministry emphasis called Peace is Worth It.
That's great, Jess. That is great. And right now, our team has put together some great music. I know they're looking forward to sharing with you. Enjoy.
Scared to say how they really feel.
All right. Happy Easter. You know what? Not that that was awesome, but it was the best one out of the 4. There was like 12 of you that said it. We went from like 2 on Saturday night, about 3.5 in the 8:30, solid 6 at the 10, and then we went up to 12 or 14. We'll try it again, though. Happy Easter. And it's like the library. We're like, are we allowed to talk in here? I don't know. Is God going to get me? It's great to have everybody here. Thanks for tuning in. If you're online, joining in. My name is Ryan. I'm the lead pastor here. If you're in the room and you're a guest, let me also welcome you. Thank you for being with us today. If you are a regular attender, I wouldn't know it because y'all have been online. So, and this is my first Easter at Crossroads, by the way. I realized that. I did one with, because I've been here about 18 months, did one with. This is the first one with Crossroads and at Crossroads. So this is your first Easter here. You and me both. That's awesome. We'll see if, the jury's still out as to whether either of us will be back next Easter. So who knows what's going to happen in this. It'll be fun. But it is really great to be together. For those of you that are online, thank you for connecting. And I hope you have a meaningful experience if you're out in the atrium enjoying the sunlight, or if you're out on the patio in the near 80-degree weather. Thank you for being here today as we launch a brand new series called The Case of Mistaken Identity. Right, we're talking about mistaken identity. Y'all ever experienced the case of mistaken identity? Have you ever watched your kids do this? If you have kids, raise your hand up if you have kids. Raise your hand in the house. You got kids. And I didn't say you wanted to keep them, just you have them. That's okay. You got kids. Have you ever watched your kid from a distance walk up to somebody that they thought was you? Right? And they like take their hand almost, or they walk a little ways, and then they like look up and they're like, what? And you're just sitting there hoping the whole time, maybe they won't know. Maybe they'll take them home. Maybe they won't. No. That's just me? No, that was just me when my kids were little. Right, we've had that experience. Have you ever done that? Have you ever walked up to somebody you thought was your spouse behind them, kind of gave them a big hug and realized, oh, I'm so sorry. That is not who I thought it was. It could be an embarrassing moment when we do that, right? This idea of the mistaken identity. One of the ways that we mistake identity that's really awkward is the embarrassing wave. Have you ever done that? Somebody's waving and you think it's at you, so you oh, no, not me. That moment. The worst is when somebody like calls, like, oh, come here. And you start to walk towards them, and you're like walking, and oh, no, that's them over there, right? Super awkward, weird. But we do this, right? We mistake people. We know what it's like. We know the proverbial saying, don't judge a book by its cover, right? And that's kind of related to the idea of mistaken identity. Don't judge a book by its cover, meaning we shouldn't take outward appearances to consider what a person's like on the inside. But we do that. I did that in college. There was a professor in my undergraduate work who he just looked like the most boring person ever created on the planet. I'm not going to lie to you. Like he looked older than Moses, and I just said to myself, I heard him talking in the hallway one time, and he talked like this. He talked about 30 words per minute. And I said, I can't handle 3 hours a week with that person. There's no way I'm doing it. So I avoided that professor my whole undergraduate. And then my final year, my final semester, senior year, undergraduate work, there's a course that I have to take, and he's the only one that teaches it. I'm like, oh. So I took it, and I was so angry because he was the best professor I ever had. Absolutely amazing. And I had taken facts that I had gleaned from my little experiences with him, and I had like pigeonholed him and come to a conclusion. And when I experienced him, right, in reality, it's like, oh, wow. And we do this all the time. We do it with our firsthand experiences, but we also do this with other people's facts, right? How many have ever used Yelp? Any Yelpers out there, right? You're trying to find a restaurant, you go on Yelp, see what people are liking. Or if you're going to order something on Amazon, what do? We go to the reviews, and we take other people's facts and we form our conclusions, right? There could be 1,000 positive reviews, 10 negative ones, and we're automatically going to be like, oh, I don't know. Because what do? We hear other people's facts and we come up with our own conclusions. And you've done this, I bet, if you're honest. Maybe you had this happen to you, or maybe you did this. Maybe let's imagine the scene. You're at work. There's a new employee. You're asked to participate in that new employee's orientation. And so you're to walk them around and just kind of show them where all the offices are, who everybody is, and just introduce them to everybody. And you're going and you go, oh, this is Bob, and this is Tim, and this is LaTanya, and this is, Sally, right? And this is Marjorie, and this is Miguel, and you're going through, and then you come to Stuart. Anybody in the house named Stuart before I go on? I just want to be careful, right? You got to pick this name. I don't know. So you come to Stuart, and you don't really know what to say, so you just say something like, well, you know what? This is Stuart. I'll just let you form your own opinion. And what's that code for? That's code for, like, I don't like this guy. It's This guy doesn't like me. We don't talk. And we've actually given people information. It's like, oh no, I can't now form my own opinion because you have given me your facts, your experiences, and that's informing the way I think about it. And so we would miss like the truth of Stuart because of that one little experience, somebody else's fact. And that's how life works. Facts often cause us to avoid or miss the truth. The fact of my professor in undergraduate work that he looked like he was older than Moses, he talked really slow and quiet, and I thought, this guy's super boring. I missed the truth of what an amazing professor he was. I missed it. And you know what? No place do we see this in Scripture more apparent, this idea of facts and truth being intermingled and us losing the truth based on the facts, is in the stories of the resurrection of Jesus. Now, if you're here today, tuning in, out on the patio, in the room, and you would classify yourself as not a Bible person, like you're brand new to the whole Bible thing, you're like, oh no, they're going to talk about the Bible, and maybe you've even had a bad experience with the Bible, like somebody has used that Bible to tell you that you don't belong or that you're wrong, or they've weaponized the Bible, or maybe you have a long history of trying to follow it so that you can make God happy with you, and you've just kind of said, I'm out, and somehow you found you're back here today because mom said you're going, and so you're here, or she's really pretty, and you were like, okay, if I have to go to Easter to have Easter dinner with you, let's do it, right? Here's the thing I want you to know. I think our community really does deal and talk and think about Scripture in a healthy way. Me personally, I don't think the Bible is a rule book. In fact, I think it's a really bad rule book if you take it that way. In fact, people who say, oh, I follow the Bible, I actually think we should be a little suspect of, because we don't follow the Bible. We don't. Some of you in here, you say, well, I follow the Bible. Well, you look beautiful in your cotton polyester blend clothing, clearly violating the Bible, because we don't mix those two things and wear those clothing if we're going to follow the Bible. It's a complex collection of writings, but here's what Scripture is. The way I think about Scripture, and I think the way we talk about it here is it's a book that offers us wisdom. It's a book that offers us a glimpse into a history of people in their time, in their space, trying to live a faithful life to honor their understanding of God. And we can glean all kinds of wisdom and all sorts of information. But I don't look at it as a rule book. If I follow it, then everything's good and God loves me. I don't think it works that way. So everybody can take a nice breath, because what we're going to do is try and explore a little bit of wisdom, find some meaning for our lives, our everyday, normal, Monday through Saturday life. And I want to look at this about 18 verses in one of the stories of Jesus' resurrection in what we call the Gospel of John. There's actually 4 stories of the resurrection of Jesus. None of them agree, by the way. They're all different. They look alike in some ways, but they're all very, very different. So it's not history that we're being given. We're being given theology. We're being given interpretation of traditions that have been handed down. And I just want to look at one of those stories of Jesus and what we call the resurrection. And it's how there's this intermingling of facts and truth in it. In John chapter 20, verses 1 through 18, it says this: On the first day of the week, Mary of Magdala came to the tomb early in the morning while it was still dark and saw the stone removed from the tomb. Now, Mary Magdala was probably one of the most important disciples in the story of Jesus. She's one of the women who followed Jesus around, had her life changed by the message of Jesus, her encounters with Jesus. So she's there at the tomb. She goes in, stone's rolled away, it freaks her out. So what does she do? She runs back and she finds Simon Peter, one of the disciples, one of the 12. Simon was the impetuous one, right, who was always telling Jesus what he shouldn't do, what he should do. Peter was always in trouble, and Jesus was always like, oh, Peter. I think Jesus probably had like a permanent imprint on his forehead from Peter, right? And so she goes to Peter, Simon, and to this other disciple whom Jesus loved, which I think is the funniest way to describe this disciple. A lot of people think that this book, it's written in the name of John. It could be written by the disciple John, probably wasn't. It's pretty late. But this idea, it's written in the tradition of John, who was the one that Jesus loved, is how it comes, right? And so it's kind of funny the way this is written. But so he goes to these 2 disciples, and she says, they've taken the Lord from the tomb, and we don't know where they put him. Now, what we get here is Mary is doing what we all do. She's making sense of the moment with the facts that she's experienced, right? Mary was there. She saw Jesus crucified. She saw him dead, unmistakably. And here's why we can assume that. The texts tell us that she was there. Some texts tell us that the women were there. Some texts tell us very specifically that Mary was there. But Roman crucifixion was not like what you see in paintings, where there's these this big cross way off to the side that's really tall, and everybody can see it from a distance. Roman crucifixion was much more in your face. Roman crucifixions were the pole was placed in the ground, and the person who was condemned to death would carry the crossbeam, and they would be crucified at eye level. Because Rome wanted everybody to see this is what happens when you mess with us. We are the powerful ones. And so there was no mistaking it. It wasn't like it was at a distance. Mary knew he was dead. I saw them take him off the cross. I know the tomb. I saw him laid in the tomb. He's gone. So she just comes up with what is perfectly reasonable given her experience. So Peter and the other disciple, they went out and they came to the tomb, which would have been enough information, but whoever wrote this decided to tell us about a foot race between these two disciples. This is what it says. They both ran, but the other disciple ran faster than Peter and arrived at the tomb first. No idea why that's in there. No clue. I think it's the funniest thing, though, that in the story of the resurrection of Jesus, we're caught up in who's faster. It's just funny to me, and we just shouldn't gloss over it. We should recognize it, that a man probably wrote this because only men would worry about who got there first. Right? All the ladies are like, amen. Like Mary's wondering where Jesus is. The disciples are like, I bet I could beat you there. So here's what it says. The first one got there, right? The other disciple, the unnamed one, who Jesus loved, right? A little better than the others, I guess. Maybe it's because he was so fast. Jesus was like, you're my guy, right? Go get me some food. I don't know. So the one that gets there first, he arrives at the tomb, he bends down, and he sees the burial cloths there, but he doesn't go in. He's a little freaked out. He doesn't want to go inside the tomb. Who can blame him? Come on, let's be honest. That would creep me out too. Like, I'm not going in there. You go in there. So Peter arrives after him, of course. We have to know that. He comes in huffing and puffing, and he goes down into the tomb. He actually goes in, and he sees the burial cloths there, and he sees the cloth that had covered Jesus' head, but it wasn't with the burial cloths. It was rolled up in a separate place. They weren't together. And then the other disciple who also went, by the way, the one who arrived first, it's in there. Like, this is in the original Greek. I'm not making this up. Right? They're just caught up on who gets there first, which I just find hilarious. Right? So the one who got there first, by the way, he beat Peter, he saw and believed. He saw, but now you would read that, and initially you might think that means, oh, he believed that Jesus was alive. But no, that's not what it means, because the writer goes on to say, for they did not yet understand the scripture that he had to rise from the dead, and so the disciples returned home. What did they believe? Well, they believed the facts that were given to them by Mary, that Jesus had been taken. The facts persuaded the disciples to believe Mary. They got their own facts. He's not here. He's dead. We know he was buried. So they believed Mary. Facts are funny like that. Facts can keep us away from the truth. So the disciples, in true disciple fashion, the male ones, they head off. Peter's like, I want to re-race. I want to redo. I want to see if I can beat you back home. Right? But Mary, she stays outside. She's weeping. She's in deep mourning and loss, and she is so distraught that Jesus' body has been taken. And as she wept, she bent over and she looked into the tomb, and there were two angels sitting in there. Well, that's weird. You'd think she'd start like peppering them with questions, but she doesn't recognize that they're angels. But the writer says, well, one was sitting at the head and one at the feet where the body of Jesus had been, and they see her weeping, and they say to her, woman, why are you weeping? Why are you weeping? And she says to these two people there that we're told are angels, but she doesn't seem to recognize them as angels. She says, well, they've taken my Lord, and I don't know where they laid him. Again, Mary's just doing what we would all do. She's coming up with the reasonable conclusion based on the facts. He's dead. He's not here. He's gone. Somebody took him. We shouldn't criticize her. We shouldn't think of her as having little faith. Or she's just doing what we would all do with the facts that we've been given. She has a case of mistaken identity, but it's based on facts. Here's where it gets really good. When she says this, they've taken him. She turned around and she saw Jesus there, but she didn't know it was Jesus. So Jesus is standing right in front of her, but she doesn't recognize it as Jesus. And this person, Jesus, says to her, woman, why are you weeping? Repeats the question of these two angels or men or whatever. Says, why are you weeping? Whom are you looking for? And I love this. I love it. I love it. I love it. The scripture says she thought it was the gardener. She thought it was the gardener. And so she says to him, sir, if you carried him away, tell me where you laid him, and I will take him. I will take him. Here's the thing. Just like all of us, Mary saw what she expected. The gardener. She has an encounter with this living Jesus, but she wasn't expecting it. The facts told her otherwise. Her experience with Simon and this other disciple who could run much faster than him told her he's gone, he's taken. Nobody could think anything otherwise. So why would she think it would be Jesus there? So she has Jesus confused. She thinks it's the gardener. She misunderstands. It's a case of mistaken identity. And here's what's so powerful in that moment. Jesus doesn't get angry. Jesus says, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Mary, right now? After everything we've been through, after what is it? I'm the gardener. Seriously? You know what he says? Mary. He just says her name. He just says her name. And in that moment, when she hears her name, she turns and she says to him in Hebrew, Rabboni, which means teacher, which means it's you. Oh my God. Like literally. All she heard was her name. She had all the facts given to her from her own experience, from the experience of others, but Mary learned the truth, not from the facts, but when she heard her name in that very personal experience. Now, don't miss this. We could get caught up in the story and, well, was it angels? Was it not angels? We could get caught up in the historicity, all that stuff. That's not the point. That's not why we're given this. We're given this to get an understanding of the meaning. And I think we can look at this and we can apply it to our lives and we can say, here's what happens over and over and over again. We all have our facts about Jesus. We all have the things that we've experienced. And those facts and the facts of what other people have experienced, what they've done with Jesus, these things shape our expectations and they distort the truth of God, the big T truth of God. That this is what happens. That you and I have encountered people. I've been one of those people that you've encountered. That what I say, my experiences, what I understand, it shapes what you think about Jesus. It shapes what I think about Jesus. It shapes my expectations. And at the end of the day, it distorts the truth of God. That's what happened to Mary. All her facts, all the experiences of Simon and the really, really fast disciple, all those things, it shaped her expectations. So when Jesus shows up, she doesn't even know it's Jesus. She thinks it's the gardener. But she has to have that personal experience. So here's where we're going for the next 4 weeks. This is what I'm inviting you into. And I hope you sense God does, is that we're going to explore this big question that Jesus asked his disciples at a different time. In Matthew chapter 16, verse 15, Matthew's looking at his disciples, and they all start talking about Jesus because Jesus is becoming well known. People are starting to really encounter Jesus and like, who is Jesus? Like, what is he all about? He brings this message to the poor. He brings this message against Roman imperialism. He brings this message of freedom. He brings this message that you don't have to follow all the rules of the temple to be right with God. He brings this message that you're forgiven. You don't even have to ask for it. You're forgiven. That you're not sick because you're full of sin. He brings all these beautiful statements that are so contrary to the power structures of the day. So he's gaining followers, and people are wondering, and he's performing miracles according to people that were around. And so all of a sudden, he looks and he says, well, they come to Jesus, say, Jesus, people are saying this and people are saying that. Because he says, well, who do they say I am? So, oh, John the Baptist, come back to life. Or Elijah, come. Or this, that. And I love that Jesus looks at his followers right there and he says to them this question. This is what we want to explore. But who do you say that I am? Who do you say that I am? And I'm impressed right now. Like right now, if you're in here and you're 13 years old, 12 years old, you should think about that question. Who is Jesus? And you should be okay with what your answer is right now. This is what I think Jesus is right now. If you're 20 or 30 or 40, who do you say Jesus is? It'll change because we have to recognize that people's facts about Jesus are always creating in us expectations. And here's what I actually believe has happened over the years. I think that people have taken Jesus, and not maliciously. I don't believe it's necessarily maliciously. I think sometimes it is. I think sometimes people have malicious intent in religion and faith to control and manipulate and get their way and get wealthy and get power. I think all that exists. But I think the far majority of this happens are just like Mary, very innocent. We take our facts about Jesus. We create expectations. And at the end of the day, what's happened is it's created in us an expectation for gardeners and not God. Like we have all these images that are out there. and all these ideas of God, and they're based on people's facts and explorations. And that's what this series is about. We're going to spend the next 4 weeks exploring 4 of, I think, one of the most common ways in which we distort the image of God. And I've got Bible verses for all of them. You can find a Bible verse for all of them. This is the problem with taking the Bible as like a rule book, because I could take one verse and I could create a whole way of manipulating and abusing people, and we see it over and over and over again. And so here's the 4 Jesuses that we're going to talk about, the 4 gardeners. Are you ready? Okay, let's close in prayer. Happy Easter, everybody. Are you ready? Okay, we're going to talk about 4 gardeners over the next 4. Some of you are like, I don't really care. I'm not coming back. Fair enough. All right, so here we go. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Let's see if I can convince you to come and check this out. See which one of these resonates with you. Okay, so the first way is this: people's facts, right, that we're handed. We've experienced these. Maybe you grew up in a system, a structure. You encountered somebody who this was their God. All right, so here's people take their facts about God, and they form what we'll call hippie God. First God is hippie God. You ready for this? Hippie God. Hippie God wears tie-dye. So we got to put on some tie-dye. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. This is Pastor Dennis Anderson's shirt. And while Dennis and I might be the same height, he wears a small and I do not. Hippie Jesus. Right? That's what we do. We take our facts, the things that we hear. Oh, God is love. I got to figure out how to put this on, right? Hippie Jesus has long hair, of course. Where are you? I've worn this thing enough times. Okay, here we go. Right, like hippie Jesus, right? Hippie Jesus has all these statements that we find in the Bible about God is love and just rest in God and God cares for you, right? And we got hippie Jesus. Hippie Jesus wears a bandana, of course. We all know that, right? How's everybody doing? Hippie Jesus, right? And hippie Jesus has to have, of course, hippie Jesus has to have glasses. Where are my glasses in here? I don't know where my glasses are now. But hippie Jesus says to us, hey, just relax, right? Hippie Jesus is also cousin it Jesus, I guess. But like, here's the deal. Like hippie Jesus is just like, just chill out. Hippie Jesus is like, if hippie Jesus' favorite line is, God's in control. You just relax. Hippie Jesus always has the munchies for some reason, too. I don't know why. Just always having the munchies. Right? And hippie Jesus, just like we have the Bible verses, man, God is love. And we can just rest in God. Come away with me, my beloved. Hippie Jesus is kind of related to boyfriend Jesus, too. We'll talk about that a little bit. You know, slow dance with me, Jesus. Just relax. And just chill out. Check the vibe. Whoa, 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 whoa. It doesn't matter what you do, just relax. But here's the problem with hippie God, hippie Jesus. Nothing gets done. Nothing ever gets done. Poor people get poorer. Oppressed people become more oppressed. Because hippie God tells us just wait. And people who follow this hippie God understanding, it's like, well, God's going to intervene. There's no understanding of a collaborative God that is waiting for us to participate in the kingdom, right? It's just this idea of, well, you know what? I don't have to worry about it. God's God. Meanwhile, nobody's becoming freer, right? There's just a handful of people that are just chill. Okay, so that's hippie God, all right? Hippie God. Now, some of you didn't grow up with hippie God. Some of you might, I don't know. But the next one, and this one is pretty common. You probably have heard it. The next one is, of course, FBI God. Oh, I'm calling my FBI God. You all know what FBI God looks like, right? FBI God still wears a really tight. Oh my gosh, I can't breathe. Okay, FBI God. Yeah, I've been watching. Been surveilling you. Been watching your history, watching your webcam, watching how many times you go to church, been watching what you put in that giving envelope. I'm going to stop by. We got enough evidence, put you away for a good 5 years. That's the way we think about it. I met with a pastor one time, I kid you not. This pastor said to me, he said, Ryan, he said, you know what I tell people? And then this is a seasoned pastor in a long time. He says, you know what I tell people, Ryan? I tell people, I'm not the judge, but I am the cop. And I'll write you a ticket, just so you know. One day you're going to have to stand before God. That's my job. I want you to be ready. So, here's your ticket. See you in court. And this God, problem with this God, right, is you're never relaxed. You are scared to death, right? Like every knock at the door, it's like, it's God! Flush it all! You're grabbing your trash can, clearing all the DVDs off of the counter, you know? Like, pour the liquor out, God's here, you know? Clearing the iPad, clearing the history on everything you can, freaking out, because that's what God is. It's just this God that investigates and checks things out. He's always watching. But then we also, because I want to offend everybody today, by the way. We've also got CEO God, right? Some people, they take and they turn Jesus into what I'll call CEO God. CEO God is really an intense God. CEO God owns the field, right? And CEO God says, hey, listen, the field is ripe unto harvest. I want King James on you there for those of you. And so pray that the Lord of the harvest sends more laborers. You don't think I know how to tie this without a mirror. I'm about to impress the snot out of you right now. How is that right there? Bam. That's like a mic drop moment for a guy that lives his life in T-shirts, okay? That's not bad for no mirror. Thank you very much. CEO God's got a plan for this world. And you're enrolled like you're on. We filled out the paperwork. You signed on the dotted line. We've hired you. We gave you a signing bonus. It's called heaven. Hello. Just for showing up, I'm going to give you that one. But here's the deal. I got a whole bonus structure for you. If you can multiply your talents, if you can double them, go from 2 to 4, go to 5 from 10, 10 to 20, I'll make sure you get some jewels in your crown. Mind you, you're going to have to lay it down at the feet of Jesus later on, but hey, it'll still be cool to make everybody jealous. And so we have this God that has a plan, work to be done. You're enrolled. Let's get things going. Let's fill it out. And here's the thing about this God. It is exhausting. It's just exhausting. And you're always wondering, am I going to make the bonus? Am I not going to make the bonus? Like, is God pleased with me? Is God not pleased with me? It's not so much about rules. It's just about work. I got to get work done. I got to get work done. I got to get work done. But I got a Bible verse for this. We can find them. Now, here's the last one. And this is the God that has captured the heart of the American church. All right? Here it is. This is the best one. This is pizza delivery Jesus. You know what I'm talking about? Pizza. How many of y'all order pizza still? Of course you order pizza. It's a pandemic. Nobody buys pizza, right? Pizza delivery Jesus. All you got to do is ask any kind in my name, and I'll deliver it right to your door in 30 minutes or less, hot and fresh. That's all you got to do. You just got to pray hard enough. You got to live the right life because God ultimately wants to bless you because you're the head and not the tail. Come on, say amen, somebody. Right? God doesn't have losers. God has winners. And God wants to bless you. And forget about that whole blessed are the poor. Forget about that whole blessed are those who weep. Let's just forget about Jesus for a second. Because God just wants you wealthy and healthy. And God's got more than you could ever imagine for your life if you will just surrender everything. Just put your order in. Ding dong. Here it is, nice and fresh. But here's the problem with pizza delivery, Jesus. Sometimes the pizza comes cold and half eaten. And you got to deal with that mess. And what are you going to put a comment card in the box? You're going to fill out a Yelp review on God? No, how that works is, well, now the problem is you. You just don't believe enough. You don't have enough faith. You haven't given enough. You haven't asked the right way. There's still sin in your life, whatever that looks like, because it falls apart. But this is it. This is the prosperity version of God. And I've got all the Bible verses for it. And so here's the problem, right? Here's what we're left with. Then you ask somebody, or somebody asks you, do you believe in God? And you're this hot mess of tie-dye, pizza delivery, a sport coat, a Chippendale bow tie, right? And you say, do you believe in God? And here's my question. Well, which one? Which one? Because I got a Bible verse for all of them. And they've been used for me and against people forever and ever. So which one? I don't know. Because we think we got it. We're so sure and certain of it. This is who God is. I get this opportunity to talk with people, and I get to meet with folks that they call themselves agnostics or they refer to themselves as atheists. And I hope some of you in here today, maybe you classify yourself that, right? I'm going to try and take this off, only this, okay? Right? You classify yourself as an agnostic, as a person who says, I think there's probably some sort of God, deity functioning behind everything, but I just don't know that we could ever know it. Maybe you would say, well, I'm more of an atheist. I just don't believe in God. And I've had people say, I'd like to talk with you, and that's wonderful. And I have great conversations. If I'm honest, I find a lot of atheists to be far more Christian than Christians that I've encountered. I just don't know it. But maybe that's you, right? And so somebody says to you, well, which God? It's making sense, right? But here's what I found. I have a conversation. This happens particularly with teenagers. I get a teenage parent who loves their kids and is scared to death because their kid starts to question ideas of God. They say, what do you mean if they're saying they're an atheist? I said, sure. So we sit down and we meet. And I tell mom and dad, I said, just so you know, I'll meet with them. But there's a good chance I don't believe in their God either. And you sit down and I'll talk with people who say they're atheists. I said, well, tell me about the God you don't believe in. Like, let's forget about what I might say about God or what somebody says about it. It's like, tell me what you say isn't God. And I can tell you right now, I've never had a conversation with an atheist agnostic person who describes the God that they don't believe in, and I don't look at them and couldn't say with 100%, I don't believe in that God either. I'm totally with you on that. Because it's usually in the form of one of these. And so what are we to do with that? I think we do what Mary does. I think in faith, weeping, not knowing what to believe, we just wait at the tomb and listen for our name. Because there is more power in that very personal encounter with what we call God, the resurrection, the universe, whatever word you want to use. There's so much power in that moment that solidifies things far more than the facts, and certainly far more than other people's facts. And so I want to encourage you. Remember the metaphor that Jesus gave at his resurrection in John chapter 20. This is what he said. But go to my brothers and tell them, I'm going to my Father and your Father, to God and my God. That beautiful metaphor of Father seems to be the fundamental way in John chapter 20 that Jesus wants us to think about God. And I understand that for some that word is not a good word, that you have had a terrible experience with a father. And so when somebody says that God is a father, that's equally as bad for you and your framework because the facts of your life. So if that's an issue for you, replace the word father with mother. If you had a wonderful experience with a mother figure as a parent who cared for you and nurtured you and protected you and loved you unconditionally and was always there for you, that's the premise behind the word. Right? I mean, to say that God is father or God is mother, they're metaphors. And they're metaphors that are meant to bring meaning and make sense in the world in which we live. I think what Jesus wants us to do is to say, you know what, when you fundamentally will start at this space of God, however you think about God, you have to think about God as that presence that is holding you, caring for you, loving you, nurturing you, never letting you go, no matter what happens in your life, no matter how much you hate, love, work, that's the grounding metaphor. It changes everything. And this can make me a better person, and it can make this world better. This understanding, this depth of mystery. Because here's the thing, when the facts about Jesus, all the things that people say, all the stuff that we hold to, that facts change. I hate to break the news to everybody. It just does as we grow, as we live, our facts change. But when those facts will meet up with the truth of Jesus, I think we fall into this mystery of love. Like that's the result. And that produces so much good, the idea of mystery. Because love exposes some interesting things. Love exposes the tyranny of doing. That if I model all of my framework around faith and around a relationship with the God of the universe as one who does, I miss out on the joy of being. And love transforms that. A parental love transforms that fundamentally because you love your children regardless of what they do, simply because of who they are and what they're your children. You are a child of God. That is the inherent truth of every human being on this planet in my framework of God. Now, do we believe it all the time? No. Do we treat people like they're? No. But I think the fundamental truth, whether the facts convey it, what facts I've been given. And that mystery of love only becomes bigger and better as you get closer and closer to God. And as you get closer and closer to God, I think that God becomes more and more obscure and the mystery becomes more known. Here's what I mean by that. Hang on with me, okay? We're going to wrap it up. We did start 5 minutes late because you all were late, okay? We didn't want you to miss the opening, all right? So here we go. Stay with me. Imagine the Milky Way, right? This is the Milky Way. This is our galaxy right here. And say, well, what is Earth? What is Earth? Oh, well, it's one of those specks there, probably kind of bottom left quadrant. Oh, so it's like universe dust. Right? We see the whole big picture here, and we make a decision like this is what the earth is. But if you zoom in a little bit closer, you get a picture of the earth that looks a little more clear but distorts the universe, right? So the universe that it's a part of gets distorted, but the earth is a little clearer. And you say, oh, wow, the earth, it's round. Look at that, it's round. And it doesn't give off light, it reflects light. That's powerful. Look at it. And it's got different colors, kind of like a marble. It's awesome. But here's the thing. If you were to zoom in and get a little closer to Earth and then be asked, well, what's Earth? You'd say, oh, well, Earth is flat, depending upon where you land. You'd say Earth is flat, and it's just water. It's just a big bathtub. There's just water. So that's all you can see. That's your fact. It's a fact. Earth is water. This is what Earth is. This is how you describe it. But here's the interesting thing. If you dropped into Earth from space in a different place, it would be completely different. And you could say, oh, this is Earth. Earth is these mountains and snow. And as you're getting closer and closer, you're obscuring the whole, right? The universe is obscured. The actual globe itself is obscured. You don't see any water. I actually stood on that. That's my picture, thank you very much. I stood there 2 weeks ago, almost died. It was foolish. I died of stupidity getting to Mount Elbert, the highest point in Colorado. And you look 365 degrees, it's all mountains. It would be easy if somebody said, that's the only place I've ever been, to say, well, what is the earth? Well, it's just mountains. As far as the eye can see, it's just mountains. It's flat as can be, but you just got these mountains. And so it's obscured the world. And we could even go further. We could dive into the deepest part of that ocean, and you dive deep in and you see this guy down there. And if you don't know anything about Earth, and you get down there, you open your eyes like, oh my gosh, this is what an earthling is. This is who lives here. Right? If we don't hold the mystery, if we don't hold the grandeur, the bigness of something, the closer we get to it, the more that mystery and the more the reality of it gets obscured by what we're seeing in front of us. But if we hold the mystery, when we look at that little squid, right, and we think about our time back up in space, we go, oh man, this world is bigger than I thought. It's not just water, it's a squid. Look at this thing. I would have never known that. And as we're standing on mountains, we go, boy, this is bigger than I thought because I was just over at oceans. I had no idea this was here. And when you're standing at the ocean, you're like, oh, there are mountains over there. I had no idea. Or I was just looking at this from space. And now as you see the whole, you're like, oh, wow. I mean, I saw mountains. I saw ocean. I saw a squid. I don't know what to expect. What else is there? Because it's bigger than I thought. And then you just zoom out and you look at the whole universe. You look at the whole galaxy. You're like, imagine what's out there. Imagine what one of those little specks holds, the beauty of it and the majesty of it. You see, I think God is like that. The farther away from God, we have this big picture of greatness. But here's what religion tends to try and drive us into one way of looking at God and understanding God. And we miss all the rest. And we get caught on one of these metaphors. So as we wrap up, I think the resurrection invites us to recognize that there's something beautiful and majestic and bigger than history and bigger than our facts in this idea that Jesus lives. So as we wrap up today, what is it that God is inviting you into? I like to ask this question every week. And if you're new, it's a weird question because it does presuppose a few things. That there is something called God. This something called God is personal. And this something called God is trying to get our attention. And while I believe and hold that to be true, I also believe that this God is also completely transcendent, is bigger than we could ever imagine, but yet somehow whispers into our hearts and our lives, personally, says our name, Mary, Ryan, Jim, Sarah, Tanya, Sophia. This is what happens. And so I just want to give you a few moments to consider what God might be inviting you into today, given what you've heard or experienced. Maybe you're new to Crossroads, new to the whole faith thing. Maybe you're returning because, boy, You don't want to have anything to do with it because the Bible had been used as a weapon for you and God, and you were told that your very personhood had no place in God, that you yourself were an abomination. Some Bible verse had been used to exclude you, and you just found your way back here because maybe you heard this was a space that was different. You hadn't given up on God, but you certainly had given up on the idea of a community that would love you and welcome you and be life-giving and modern. And here's the thing. I hope that you'll hear maybe God whisper your name and say, child, just hang here for 4 weeks. Just hang here and explore how some of those ways that I've been talked about, that they missed it, and maybe how they got it. How some of those metaphors have some good parts to them, but how they can cause harm and damage, and how we need to hold it carefully. We can't say God is the ocean, right? Can't say the earth is the ocean because there's so much more. And maybe you're like me. You've been around this thing for a long time, and you're pretty comfortable and you're pretty confident that you know exactly who God is and how God functions. And maybe today you're hearing a whisper. Do you even need faith? Is there any mystery involved anymore? Do you just know? Do you have it all figured out because you read a Bible verse or you followed your favorite blogger? But what about the bigness? Maybe you'd say, yeah, I've lost the mystery. I've had it. And I feel like God is whispering to me that maybe I need to set aside some of these metaphors and these understandings and embrace a bigger, better version. So we're going to sing this song as just a prayer together. You're invited to listen or sing, and then I'll come out and give you a blessing, and we'll get you out of here to enjoy the rest of your day with your family and friends, hopefully having had a meaningful encounter together on this Easter.
Help me read
we wrap up, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for opening your heart up to what God might want to do in your life through this experience of the resurrection. Through this great mystery that Jesus lives, that facts seem to deny, but I just can't help but when I see the world and see love persist in the face of evil, that Jesus lives. So I have a blessing I'd like to say over you and speak into you. I do believe in the power of speaking truth into our hearts and our lives and us opening ourselves up to that. And before I do that, if you have something going on in your life and it's just kind of maybe a difficult season right now, and that could be a good thing that produces difficulty, and you just like somebody to pray with you, we have some people who have been professionally trained to pray in such a way to make God do whatever we want, and so they'll be happy to pray. I'm just kidding. That's not. They're just normal people like you. They're just normal people that want to make sure that nobody has to leave here feeling like they're alone. And so if you'd like to pray with somebody, we'll have some folks here that would do that. If you're tuning in and you'd like to pray with somebody, you can either click on the live prayer or you can text the word prayer to 970-500-0970. Okay? So here's the deal now. I know you're a rebellious bunch. You know how I know that? Because when we gave you music to fill out your Connect card, most of you just sat there and watched Jess and Rod fill it out. I'm not filling it out, okay? So as a rebellious bunch, just own it. It's okay. It's all good. I think you got to have a little bit of rebellious one in you to follow Jesus, all right? So here's what I'd like for you to do is just open your hands up a little bit, just a little bit. Just like this. Like, you don't have to go full on. Like, you can if you want to, but just be careful with your COVID, all right? Just to stay in here, all right? And just as a posture of our bodies to just receive. Just to imagine like those big ocean waves. If you're standing on top of the mountains, the gusts of snow. Imagine the wind, the warm wind that's going to blow across northern Colorado today. Just imagine that, and as you hear and receive these words. May the resurrection light that we've celebrated today bless you and keep you. And may love cause its light to shine and illuminate your path this week. And may God become bigger than your best idea of hope. And may God become bigger than your best idea of grace. And may God become bigger than your best idea of justice. And may God become bigger than your best idea of mercy. And may God become bigger and bigger than your best idea of mother. And may God become bigger than your best idea of father. And may God become bigger than your best idea of love. And may God even become bigger than your best idea of God. And as God becomes bigger than your best, may you find the faith to entrust your hopes and dreams along with your fears and failures with this bigger and better God. And may this great big mystery of God, this great big mystery of resurrection light, this great big mystery of truth, this great big mystery of what the Bible calls a life hidden in Christ, may it be your joy. And may you find in it the power and the strength to do the good works prepared for you before the creation of this universe. Amen. Have an absolutely amazing week, everyone. I hope to see you again next weekend.